Alright, this is an 1851 Colt Navy replica or reproduction, imported by Lyman. This is a 1979. It was manufactured by Armi San Paolo. You might be able to see, might not, it's bad lighting. There we go. The DGG or the GDG for the initials of the last names of the guys that started that company. I don't know a whole lot about it. Just there's not a lot of information on the Lyman imports. Lyman is still in business doing, I think, long gun or muzzle loader type stuff. I picked this one up. I do have a Pieta coming. I don't have much experience with any of them. I've never shot any black powder, but I am a fan of the 1851. I'm more so from the movie The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. The little bit that I know about this particular one is it is a square back on the trigger guard. It has nickel-like plating done over the brass. It's not really a brassy color. It's more of a silver or, like I said, a nickel plating. There is one little spot down here where you can see the brass underneath where the platings come off. It's kind of hard to tell whether or not it's been shot a lot or not. The guy that I got it from had it for 2 years and had never fired it. It was his uncle or great uncle or a relative of his had it and passed away. The guy had like 150 guns or something like that, so this guy got it and was helping get rid of some of the firearms. And he was going to do some of the cowboy shooting and never got around to it, and had it up for sale, so I picked it up. Overall, it doesn't look like it's in too bad a shape. The one spot down here where the plating is coming off. All the screws were pretty tight except for the ramrod pivot up here, and the mount for the ramrod assembly itself were little. I could actually turn those with my thumb. The wedge looks like it's been beat on. It's kind of tore up. There is some, the wedge doesn't fit tight, and because of that, there is some movement in the barrel. Now, if you push that all the way through, it does tighten up some, but if you pull the wedge out, even with the screw, you can get the wedge out. Or I was able to. Let me pull that out real quick. You can see where it is dented. Now, I don't know if if it was shot a lot, if he was using too much powder. The spout that's on the flask that I got is, I believe, a little large for this particular, for a 36 caliber, which is what this is chambered in. But with the wedge torn up on this end, looks like somebody was beating on it to get it out. But you can see and feel, turn it just ever so slightly, you can see right there where the metal's dented in from being fired. You can see that little ridge right there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to run the MIG. I got a MIG welder. I wish I had a TIG, but I've got a MIG welder, and I'm going to just run a bead down that. Then what I'll do is I'll finish this back. I took some measurements here and here, but without the screw in to where the wedge can fit in a lot farther, it's tight. So, but I'm anxious to shoot it. hopefully maybe here in a couple days. But I think I want to try and dress that up before I do that. All the nipples and everything look clear. None of them are mushroomed down. The wood's in good shape, so I'm looking forward to getting it out there and running some lead down it. All right, we got the wedge welded up. You see how on the back side that was all chewed up, dented in. I just got the MIG and ran a nice little bead right down that edge. Actually, some of my better welding, my eyes have been getting bad to where it's tough to see through the bifocals, the cataracts and everything else, but nice little bead on both the top and bottom, and all I'll need to do is just file that back, grind it back, sand it back to where it's a couple thousandths thicker or wider than it was before, so that it would, not have to go in as far into the frame to wedge the barrel on. So we'll see if we can get this machine down and get it fitting good. All right, we got most of the weld taken down. You can see right there on this edge is where the old edge used to be. Just barely make out some of the bluing, and then right where that round part starts is where the weld bead was. And so if I move my fingers out of the way, I've got it mostly ground down, and you can see how it just ever so slightly is a little bit thicker. So what we're going to do is, because it's close down here on this end is blended, and this end is definitely wider this way, which really all we needed was one of the lines or both edges straightened out, like my finger has a little bit of a bow to it, and really all we needed was a straight line on both edges, or at least one edge. This was the worst side, so I decided to weld that one up, and I'm probably going to leave this side alone. You can just barely see a nick or two on it, but since we've got it pretty close, we want to test fit it and see how much more we need to take off. So we're in there as tight as I can get it with my thumb, and it's tight, but the locking tab, the spring, hasn't quite popped up because it's not in far enough. But we want to get it just far enough for that spring to be able to pop up. Maybe with a light tap with a plastic mallet or a brass hammer. So we're getting close, so a little bit more and we'll give another test fit. Alright, we took a little bit more off. You can see that little lip is barely there. I've been using a Sharpie. You might remember a little bit ago when I showed you the first, after I had welded it and then started to grind it down, there was a little bit of a couple lines there. It's because as the metal melts, it distorts a little bit, and so I ran a real small file almost right across the top, being careful not to get into the retaining spring, and took that off, so that's almost perfectly flush now. I was using a Sharpie to blacken up the areas that I have been running the file. It's all hand done, no Dremel or sander or anything like that. But so it's time for a test fit. So let's see here. And you can just barely, just a little bit more, it looks like. Maybe once more, and then maybe a second, for an easy dress, or going over it with some emery cloth. But right, no wiggle so far, and I think one more trip with the file will do it. All right. A little more filing on it. You can see that lip, the difference between where the weld bead was, which starts right there, and where the original metal was, you can see is just about gone. Pretty much even, which is what we were after. We were basically looking to just rebuild that edge. We didn't need the whole edge brought out. We just needed the old edge restored. This side still has a little bit of a dish to it, which, you know, I don't know if they were supposed to be like that or not. I bet that the hammering that the gun's taken over the years, you know, probably did some of that, although, you know, you would think it'd be all the way across, but because of the shape of the arbor and the barrel, you know, sometimes it'd be like pushing like this, and so some of it would be beat in, some of it wouldn't. But the main thing was just to rebuild that edge so that it was, in my opinion, just so it was straight. Alright, had to go dump the memory card. Anyway, so, you know, this edge, we just wanted to build that edge back up and probably so it's straight, but you know, it's almost flush with where it used to be. So let's test it in the thingamajig. And that spring is just barely right where it needs to be. So what we'll do is we'll pop that out, and there's still plenty of room over here for the screw head, you know, the screw to hold that in, or to keep it from, you know, falling out in case it comes loose while you're shooting. There's still plenty of room down in that valley for the screw head. So what we'll do is we'll pop that out. We'll dress all the edges, take the file marks out, and that edge that was real beat up on that end. So I'm just gonna, for right now, I've got some stuff coming from Brownells to do some cold bluing. I think I'll do this up pretty decent, but for now, just to make it all the same color, I'm gonna poor man paint it with a Sharpie. The edge too, the end of it. I also took the emery cloth, excuse me, and went around all the edges and basically just deburred the edges. Just put just a hair, you know, of a round profile on it. But so now what we need to do is we're going to put the gun back together. And we're going to start the wedge. And then the little bitty, the wedge retaining screw. Run that screw all the way in, and then make sure the wedge is seated. It's all the way through. There's still just a little bit of room left, but it's all tight, so we should be all set for first fire. Yay. Okay, we have the Lyman 1851 Navy cap and ball. We're using the Hornaday 36 cal .375 round balls. We're using the Pirate XP, and we're loading them up with 20 grains. And the Wonder Wads are the lubed pads from Cabela's. And then we're running it home. We're going to cap it, and we're going to light it off. It's only a camera, right? I can live with that.